G'day, this is Warnie here, ready for another big season of AFL Fantasy. The game has launched, so you can head to fantasy.afl.com.au. You can start picking your classic side. This year we've got $14.8 million to try to spend nice and wisely as we pick the best fantasy team that you can and then manage your team during the year with your 2 trades per week. But the game has launched, and so, well, pretty much I think I'll give you a little bit of a walkthrough to see what we're looking at so far. So, head to fantasy.afl.com.au and you'll find this page here, and you can log in with last year's details. If you haven't logged in, or if you haven't played before, well, basically you can go and sign up, which is a nice, easy process. But once you get in there, well, here is a look at the Warn Dogs already. I've had a little bit of a play with the side, and it's not too bad, but I can probably guarantee that there'll be about 500 changes to this before round one. Well, probably 500 changes before the new year anyway. So this is what the squad looks like at the minute. Anyway, that doesn't really matter too much as we go through. But want to look at some of the key things that coaches probably need to know about. Now, obviously, you can set your team up and play with that, but the best part about playing fantasy is playing with your mates. So over here in the top corner, I've already got some leagues going on already, but you can go and create a league and you can invite your mates to it. But if you did have your leagues from last year, you can regenerate these. So for example, if I wanted to go with this one, I'll click on the button and hit continue, and it'll give me all the settings to go and get that. Once I go through that, then I can invite my friends into that were in there previously. That's a nice, pretty easy way to go about it. But basically from your classic side, also from your team, you can be playing with your squad as it is. Who knows what you can do with your with your side at the moment. I think there's a few articles we've got on afl.com.au that you can go and get some hot tips from, but I think everyone is guessing like us. But the game's been open for nearly a day now, and we can have a little bit of a look under the stats center to see how people are, well, what they're doing. So under this menu item here, we can change that to... Sorry, my Tasmanian internet's a little bit slower at the moment. We'll go into our Coach's Choice, and that will give us some information here. I've got the Fantasy Coach subscription activated, which is always nice to get that extra information. But team selected percentage, currently the number one selected player is Nick Dacos in 54% of sides. Jason Horne-Francis in 51%. So coaches have been locking them in at their value prices as the first-year players coming in. Sicily, Whitfield, Hollins, Miller, Dunkley, Grundy, Matt Rao, Lockie Neal and Adam Treloar, they sort of make up those top few. So some very popular names. And if you do have a look at my little head sitting next to those, I own most of the popular guys. So whether that means that we're all on the right page or maybe I have led some people down the wrong path with that. So the other game that we do have is, of course, the draft game. And time now we can get organised with this. So I've reactivated my keeper league. So this is my Bacon Cup keeper league. We're all sort of ready to go. You'll notice this red bar saying here, if you select no keepers before your deadline, you will automatically keep the 14 highest average score players from last season. Now, in the settings, and I can show you how this looks, pretty much this is what our squad looks like. Key things when you go and regenerate your league. So you can do that by heading up here and then hitting create a league, and you'll be able to regenerate your league from last year. Go through and check key things like your lineup, for example. So we play 5 defenders, 7 midfielders, 1 ruck and 5 forwards. We have 12 on the bench, so that makes our squad 30. Make sure you do that before, as you're getting your settings all organised. And then in the Keeper League tab, you want to make sure it's enabled as a Keeper League, and we're keeping 14. So you could have as few as 1 player kept in your Keeper League, or you can go right through to the full squad. But we have 14 players. So from here, I can have a little bit of a play with my pre-draft list. You know, for example, I've got Tom Mitchell at number 1, so I'll pop him up there. I better grab him first. There we go. And see how that looks. But those guys will be they'll be kept by other coaches. So you'll find those out you have to do it 72 hours before your deadline. So in the managed teams, to be able to nominate your keepers, you need to make sure all of your coaches are in. So at the moment, we've got all these guys joined, except the Beatbox and Chook, Merv Grey Autos. They haven't joined yet. So once they are, then I can do the finalise participants button. And what that means is that when I go into our team and the pre-draft list, I can click on the keepers, and then I can nominate my 14 keepers that I'll have there. So that's why I'm getting this at the moment, saying your league's keeper selections are now locked. Your commissioner must finalise the league participants for you to make your keeper selection. So you can see your team in the background there, and I was going through it. I'm going, I have copped it a little bit with the position changes this year. So that's going to be a bit of a challenge for the Warn Dogs going forward and going ahead with that. So that's something I'll be making sure I keep an eye on. I'll be managing my squad with that. So pretty easy to get yourself started for this year. Making your leagues is really important. So when you are creating a league in draft, you do have that same regenerate your league button as we did in Classic. And so I can do this one. I won't go through the process here because I'm not going to regenerate this as such. But if this was a keeper league, I can click it onto keepers. But I need to make sure that I go through all of my settings here, which can be updated throughout the preseason as well, making sure I've got what I'd like to have. So all those little bits and pieces of how many players on field that you'd like to have and how you'd like to work with your bench. One of the hot tips for this year, I think, is in your single season, you might want to have a bigger bench than normal. Like a lot of the times coaches or leagues like to have just 4 on the pine. I'm thinking we might go a few more because COVID could wreak havoc again. We'll see how that goes for us as well. But there it is. That is AFL Fantasy, and we are back. We are ready to roll again for another season. So go and sign up now at fantasy.afl.com.au and get your mates involved. Go and set up your leagues and go and get organised because, well, what is a summer without playing around with your fantasy team? There's only 80-odd days to go until that first lockout. So get your team set up, get your mates organised, and get ready for another fun season of AFL Fantasy.